Okay, let's examine our favorite physics problem that we've all experienced from the time that we were little kids. And what is that favorite physics problem? It's simply, let's toss a ball straight up into the air and watch it come back down, catch it. Why, let's do it again. Toss the ball in the air, watch it come back down. We've all done this physics problem since about the time we were able to walk. So let's examine one of our physics relationships that tells us what's happening when we toss the ball. It's a very simple one. It's our delta x equals v sub I delta t plus 1/2 a delta t squared. Yes, it's where delta x is our displacement as it travels, where v sub I is our initial velocity as soon as it leaves our hand. Delta t is the time that the ball is in flight after it leaves our hand and before we catch it or maybe miss it on the way down. And a is the acceleration of the ball. In this case, it's the acceleration due to gravity because it's in free fall. Now let's examine how we might approach this problem. There are 4 different ways or 4 different things we might have to solve for. For example, we might have to find our delta x when we know initial velocity, acceleration, and time. We might have to find our initial velocity when we know the displacement, the time it was in flight, and the acceleration. We might have to find what the acceleration is when we know the initial velocity and the displacement. And finally, we might have to find the time it was in flight when we know its displacement, its initial velocity, and its acceleration. These are not very difficult problems to solve. In fact, they're quite simple if we use some simple algebra. The real issue is understanding physically what's happening and what each variable means. For example, our delta x is how far is it from its starting point at any given time in its flight. That's delta x. And the v sub I is how fast is it going at the very instant, just after it leaves my hand when I throw the ball. The delta t is what's the time frame? How long in time has it been since I launched the ball straight up? And then finally, acceleration A is how is velocity changing over time due to some force that's acting upon it, in this case the force of gravity. So all 4 problems have a physical meaning. If we can take our problem solving checklist and identify which of these we're trying to find and what we know about the other variables, then we can solve the problem. We'll look at each case, finding delta x, v sub I, delta t, or a separately.